Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Madcapper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends and another of our ongoing series of I Built Them So You Don't Have To. Today I went way off the board with a champion that absolutely nobody has asked me to build. It is not something that anyone, whether it's on Twitch or in your comments on my previous videos that you've said, I want to see this champion in action, but I thought I'd have a chance to kill two birds with one stone. First off, the point of this series is to point out champions that no one is thinking about or talking about and see if they're going to be useful for you guys and of course for me in any area of the game. The second is there are two factions in my faction wars that are severely underdeveloped. So today we're going to look at one of those factions and one of those champions. Today's series is on Ripper. He is a Force Affinity attack-based champion of the Skinwalker faction. So why don't we just take a look and see where we might be able to use him. Here is our starting Ripper. Like I said, he is a Force Affinity champion, epic, attack-based, and his starting stats, 16,000 HP, is pretty standard for an epic champion. A lot of them are actually lower than that, so I do like the fact that I see him with some HP on it. Makes him a lot easier to make. His attack at 1299 is a little low, but as we all know, it is more about the multipliers on these abilities as opposed to just their straight attack. Defense at 936 is actually fairly good for an epic attack-based champion. A lot of them can be in that 500 to 700 range, so it is nice to see one that's close to that 1,000 mark that makes him a little bit more survivable. His speed at 96 is simply average. It's not great, it's not awful, it's somewhere in between. His crit rate at 15, crit damage is 60, strangely enough, not a 63, standard resist at 30, and accuracy at 0. Let's start with his aura, which is an increased force ally crit rate in all battles by 23%. This is not something that I find effective right now, although I have a sneaking suspicion this might be something that is more useful when it comes to the Tower of Doom and having to put together teams of all single force or all single affinity or those sort of things. We're seeing it more and more with the advanced quests, and this might be an opportunity for him to shine. Heavy Slam is attacks one enemy will ignore 50% of the target's defense, decreases their max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted. This should be a hard-hitting ability as it completely ignores defense, 50% of defense. Now, it also decreases their max HP by 30%, which might be, in my estimation at least, the most useless ability in the game. The only champion that has shown any sort of effectiveness is Rhodos, and that is with the insane amount of damage that he can do each and every hit, makes it way more important. Plus, he's also stealing that HP for himself, whereas this is just decreasing the 30% of the damage inflicted. Even if this damage were 100,000, most bosses have millions of HP, so it's like a drop in the bucket and really isn't a useful ability. His A2 attacks one enemy 2 times. Damage increases as the target's HP decreases. This is a nice finishing move. It's an ability on the second round, for example. It also should be good against trying to kill a Rhodos. So long as the damage is there to be able to actually do enough to kill Rhodos, this should be a decent ability overall to kill. It's also bookable to a 3-turn cooldown with a 20% extra damage when fully booked. And then his A1 attacks one enemy, again, decreases the max HP by 10% of the damage inflicted. I sincerely hope that they are going to do something with max HP as more of a needed skill in the game, because as it stands right now, not much out of this. There are a lot of champions that have it. Absolutely none of them I ever considered to be a useful ability. Like I said, outside of Rhodos, who can actually severely hamper in longer fights when enemy teams have that sort of thing. Think of the Ice Golem, and if he hasn't killed the 2 adds with his A3, his A1 his A2 is taking that HP so often, half the time they get revived with only half health. So that's his ability. Why don't we now take a look and see how I've built him out, and we'll see if we can use them in the different areas of the game. So here is my fully decked out Ripper. As you can see, we've got him in some cruel gear and some broken gear just to finish it out. And we look at his total stats. He's got 33, 323 health, decent survivability. It's a little bit better. Obviously, putting this same gear on Phoenix really puts Phoenix at a disadvantage because of how low his health is, where Ripper has a little bit more. With attack-based champions, how much that matters? It might get him through a second round if he got attacked, so it's always nice for that, especially if you can eliminate their nuker, and so you just have to worry about some of their harder hitting supports. Attack at 4355, the higher the better. 1299 attack doesn't allow me to push this too far, but it's a decent number. Defense 1830, kind of incidental. Speed 184. You are going to want to make this quicker and speed tune it to whatever your team is. If you have a double boost, for example, I'm using it with Lysandra, so we should be able to handle whatever is thrown at us. But just keep in mind that your best place to go is head up and hit the arena calculator at deadwoodjedi.com. He's got Zombie Lord's arena calculator. They've got all the different bells and whistles to be able to properly speed tune your team. Make sure you go there. Link in the description below. Crit rate at 103, obviously is close to 100, right? We don't want to go over, but whatever. 247 crit damage. I wanted to push that to as close to 250 as possible, of course. And then debuff resistance, incidental, and accuracy we do not need. So there is our Ripper. As far as his skills, I did fully book him. I was curious, this extra 25% damage, I figure it would come into play. Also, the cooldown is always nice, so we just made sure to fully book them out. I would venture to say that you probably wouldn't need books if you were using them, but you know, that you guys be the judge of that. A lot of it depends on whether or not you have the books to use, so you can make your own judgment on whether you want to use books on them. His masteries. So I love defense or attack-based champions that don't have any sort of extra checks, because then I don't have to worry about the support. So I used to do this totally different, but we'll talk about the defense real quick. I like taking him down this way now because I feel like the 5% AoE on a squishy champion that attack champions usually are, doesn't matter. This is a nice one for sure. But this is really kind of useless for him, to be honest with you. In quick, unsustained fights, this isn't going to do enough damage reduction. So now I'm going this way, which this way he has a 30% chance of having that block debuffs if he's coming out of a True Fear, Sleeper Stun. There's so much more of that in the arena that I think this might be a better option for him, especially if you're pairing him with a shield champion, pairing him with someone who's got a veil champion, where those AoE debuffs might still hit you, but they can't directly attack you, or you can survive because of the shield. So, you get stunned in the first round, but you still have some opportunity afterwards and the block debuffs to keep yourself in the fight. And then I do like the extra resist every time this gets a debuff. It's just some extra added protection. And then, like any attack champion, I always want to, if I don't have to go down the support tree, I want to go here. We thought some different things here. Again, it was just about damage. And, there's some argument to be made for 50% or less. Shield Breaker, he's a single target champion, so you're going to want a debuffer with him. And because you're going to want a debuffer, having a Shield Breaker is kind of a useless skill, in my opinion. And then, of course, you go with the crit damage, some lifesteal, which means, if he's getting into trouble, it can heal him up. Just to get that A2 or A3 down quicker, and then just down the damage tree. And then we went to Helm Smasher. This is one that you could argue to go down to Flawless Execution for more crit damage. As if I were using him in a dungeon as a typical farmer, then I think maybe the Flawless Execution might be the better option, because he's all single target, and he's only got one double hit, the other single hits. But I do like the thought that, hey, if he's got that 50% on his A3, plus the 10% from his gear, plus another 25%, then we're looking at almost totally ignoring defense, which means he can hit really hard against even those stalwart, high defense champions. But you can make an argument either way. I think you could probably take him to here or here, and then drop that down to the Flawless Execution, especially if you feel you can't quite get that crit damage up. Usually for me, 230 to 240 is my tipping scale. If I can get it to 240 without, I'll go Helm Smasher. If I can get it to 240, if I can't get it to 240, I would go to Flawless Execution. And most of my champions, I've sort of been migrating over to Helm Smasher, especially for the arena. As always, here we are in the campaign. This is stage 6. Because he's Force Affinity, we want stage 6 because it has more, it has fewer Spirit Affinity champions, so it's going to give him the greatest chance to survive here. We did put some food in with them, so let's just get it going. It is important to note that if you are using this to kind of level this champion up as he's going from 50 to 60, for example, it would be smart to make use of his abilities, which is, of course, that 23% aura, so you can actually build him out with less than 100% crit rate and still be able to do this. Let's see a weak hit. Still pretty strong, though, overall, able to attack the champions. If it's magic, he's going to one-shot them, of course. no problem at all. He does hit pretty good. Those are pretty decent numbers, especially out of an A1 to be hitting between 30. I'm guessing the A3 was 50. There's a 60k hit there. Pretty nice overall. Just hope those bombs don't land. Good. 60k, no quarter, 30k. And ignore defense, you saw 41k. So it's pretty good damage. 40 seconds, not what you're going to obviously use for your campaign farmer. But it does highlight that you can use him and level him up. I actually didn't level him up solo in this particular time just because of everything that was going on with all the events going on. I did actually level him with other champions, but it's nice to know that at least you can take him into 12-6. You can put him in some good gear, level up those last 5-6 whatever levels you need to get him through. Okay, so here's an interesting team to fight against. It's a high defense, high stack team, so that'll really lend well to me testing out what he can do with his defense, ignoring defense. This is my slow comp team, but let's bring in the fast comp team just to make sure we get to go. And so we're not going to bring in both because I'm fairly confident that I'm going to be faster. It might come back to haunt me. So we're not going to actually bring in Lysandra. We're just going to bring Arbiter, and that will give us a chance to bring in a debuffer. Which of course we want to bring in our Madame Ceres. I look at 180. It probably doesn't matter which one. They both, one's 385, one's 550 for their accuracy. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I think we're going to be okay on either accuracy. Then let's bring in our Ethos and let's bring in Ripper. And the reason why we're going to bring Ethos is we're going to test them kind of head to head. We're gonna quit and then we're going to keep fighting the same team just so we can test all the skills here. So this is just the easiest way to do it. It's going to burn me a few tokens, but whatever. So yeah, as expected, we're faster. So we're going to do that. Then let's debuff. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to test on Mountain King here. And he landed both debuffs. So here is my A1 with Ethos. Hit for 64, 363. Pretty good hit. Now let's check his A1. 71, 994. So he actually hit his A1 harder. Now it should, hey, Ethos isn't known for his A1. So let's get out of here. We don't want to beat this team because we want to fight them again, and we'll compare A2s. The A2 is going to be the hardest to compare. We have to really pay attention to what Ethos's damage is. This might actually beat the other team. So we're actually going to do Ripper's A2 and A3 first, and then we'll see if we can I don't know. We'll try with the Ethos and we'll see what we can do without killing the enemy team. It might be okay because Mountain King has some really big health, but my boy smacks, so we'll see what happens. Okay, again, we're going to boost. We're going to strip because everybody loves a strip party. Okay, we'll just do whatever with him. Oh god, now he's getting extra turns. Stop, Relentless. Damn you. Okay. So now we're going to use his A2. Remember, this is 2 hits. And it increases the target's HP decreases. I want to know, is this based on their total HP as well? Because this could really hit ridiculous on Mountain King after that first swing. So let's see what the damage is. We're going to slow it down. And 66 and 89,000. 66k plus 89k on a Mountain King. That's with 10%. Remember, that doesn't ignore defense. That's just one hit. So let's cancel it again. We're boosting. Please don't report me for boosting. Spawn Dragnal. You're welcome. I guess. I think. I hope. I hope you're not like, why is this guy doing this to me? Or, look at me, I'm the best ever. He attacked me 10 times. Okay, so test number 3. Now, of course, it's very difficult to understand what exactly... Because I don't know the stats of this Mountain King. I know he's got lots of HP. I could count it out. I think Murder told me what each of those is. I'm too lazy. So we're just gonna keep doing this. This was a bit of a test, but oh god, he killed him. Don't get an extra. Okay, good. So now his A3 is 97 241, which is interesting because that ignored defense, and yet obviously his first hit, his A2, is way higher because it hit for 66k, and then as he lost HP, the second one hit for 89k, which I mean he would have had about a third health left. So that first of all, that defense, that ignored defense does very well, but overall we're looking at a 150k versus 97k. So his A2 is actually his better skill, at least against an HP champion. We could play this. I feel like if I play this out, I'm gonna lose. But let's see what happens. Yeah, and that's why I was worried about that. Okay, no one got stunned. We're good. Oh god. Well, that's unfortunate for him. Let's take him out. No, actually, we want to compare, right? Sorry, I'm gonna leave this battle before I win. We want to compare Ethos's damage. So I have a sneaking suspicion Ethos is gonna kill them all with his A2 or his A3, but we'll just have to kind of extrapolate. We know that his A3 and his A2 are very similar damage, so the damage modifiers are within point whatever of each other. So we'll use his A3 here, keeping in mind the debuff, and we'll watch it on the Mountain King. Oh, yeah, I guess I don't need to go to here. Okay. Now let's slow that down. Watch the Mountain King. 106k didn't kill him. So that is barely more. Now, he's not in Savage Gear, he's in Relentless, so that's a thing too. But that's barely more. Now, the other thing I want to see here, he's got barely any health. Let's see how much this can do. Let's see how much that first hit's going to be. 110k. That's pretty impressive. And it makes me feel like I'm going to have to give him an additional test here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have to test him in the clan boss, because I want to see if that ability works against clan boss, and I want to see if it works when he's on 0 health. So that's him in the arena. You can see he hits really hard. Obviously, there's some major issues, drawbacks behind it, but we'll talk about that in the recap. So this is my clan boss team. I can't remember if I've done a video on this specific team. It is the team that I did do my 1 key Ultra Nightmare run on. I have actually stolen some of their gear. I figured because it's not always 1 key, it's affinity dependent. It's always between 60 and 72 million, 73 million in that area. I actually stole some of their gear for arena champions, leveled it out. So it's now I'm doing between 58 and 66 million. It's still easy 2 key. I might revisit this to make it a 1 key, but honestly, I love imploding my team, so I'm probably going to implode this team and make a brand new one at some point. But my point is, I'm going to try this. Now we're going to cancel out of this at some point because this is not going to do what it needs to do. But what it is this guy's empty. He has no health. So I want to see, is that no health going to offer extended damage for my champion? But we're going to give this guy every opportunity. So we're just going to take a look. I'm just curious, because it's almost 0 health. Like, he's basically got 0 health. When we saw him in the dragon, he didn't hit any harder on the dragon. Really less, probably because of defense on the dragon, but than he did for hitting Mountain King. So we're going to test it here, and we're going to see, okay, so this is how much. We're going to know definitively whether or not it's simply a matter of percentage loss, which I have a suspicion it is. So now we can't do a full key on this. I wouldn't mind doing a full key, but the only way I could actually do a full key is if he was taking the stun, but then I wouldn't have the cleanse. So I actually cannot run a full key with him in it in this comp, unfortunately. But we can at least give it a test and see. So we want to get that. We want to get that crit damage up. We want to put all the buffs up, so we have every possibility for this guy to do as much damage as possible. Boom. Unfortunately, we won't have the attack up from Doom Priest, but here we go. So now we've got the defense down, the weaken. We're ready to go here. Let's just see what he can do for damage. And this is just a quick test to wonder. So 200,000 damage every 3 turns. That's not bad. Let's just keep going here. We'll see what his A3 can do and what his A1 can do. Keep in mind, I have him in Helm Smasher. We would definitely switch him over to War Master. should, 96. So he's like one hit from a pretty well developed champion here. Well, we'll do this just to make sure that we get through there. We'll just keep everyone doing what they normally do. So now this is his ignore defense, but it's a single hit. 86,000, kind of meh. So really with that zero health left, that's pretty impressive that he can hit for 200k. It's not the best out there, but for epics, I don't know a whole lot of epics that will be able to hit that damage in an unkillable every 3 turns. So I'm a little bit impressed. And finally, we're going to see what his A1 can do. And then, we see 59k. Oh, it's an unbuffed. So we'll go around until we can get that buff back up. That's not the one I should have used, but it doesn't matter. We're going to do this, and then we're going to exit out. Okay, now the run's over anyway because he can't take that. So, okay, so his A2 did about 210k, give or take, right? And his A3 did like 80. Did it do 80k? Maybe? I think it was 80k. So it's A1. It's A1 85. So his A1 looks to have the same modifiers as A3, which is kind of disheartening. We're going to run around again on that. If I can actually get to it with all the buffs up. We'll see. Because I'm a little bit distraught. So, okay, so he still has the debuffs. He still has the crit damage up, so there's no discernible difference. I want to see this again, because if this, with the 50% ignore defense, is hitting the same as his A1, that's ridiculous. 93. 93k. 85. So 50% of defense ignored. Actually, 60. And I don't know if that was a Helm Smasher. So between 60 and 85% defense ignored, and it only hit for assume maybe the first one hit Helm Smasher, so that was a 35%. So that's still a 50% difference in them, and there's a 8k difference in damage. So a little bit unfortunate there. Overall, though, I'm actually kind of impressed. I don't know if it would be useful, but there is that comp where you can run your attack champion as your lead. Or you can run double attack champion. I think it's going to be pretty good. We're going to exit out of this here, but there you go. At least we know what kind of damage he can do in the clan boss, and it's an interesting option, I would say. My final thoughts on Ripper. He is the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, he's a Skinwalker who hits really hard. Skinwalkers are an undeveloped faction, so having a champion that can hit really hard is always a good thing. It's going to be good for faction wars. If you need to build out that last champion, this is the guy you got. He can probably help you. In fact, he did help me progress another stage, so I've already seen it happen. Did I also mention he hits really hard? His abilities, all 3 of them, actually kind of impressed me. Not so much as A3, which I was a little bit disappointed with the ignored defense hitting so low, but the A2 and the amount of damage it was able to do both to the clan boss and to the Mountain King actually shocked me. I didn't expect it to be that good. I'm not saying it was, oh my god, what have we been sleeping on this champion good? But it was unexpected, and that's always good to see. The bad is his toolkit. We've got a modifier on his aura, which makes no sense. You've got these decreases enemy max HP, which is the most useless skill in the game that no one has ever said they want. There's never a case when everyone's like, thank God I decreased enemy max HP on that arena champion, otherwise I would have lost. That's just, there's never a case in the history of the world where that has been spoken of. And I know there's one of you out there's like, well, this one time, shut up. Exception that proves the rule. I'm just kidding. Don't shut up. I love you guys. But enemy max HP decrease is a stupid ability that has, maybe in theory was really good, but in reality just is ineffectual and needs to be replaced or removed entirely. The ugly. He's a single target nuker. I know that should be a positive, but it's actually a negative. Much like Knight Errant, which we did a few videos ago, without any sort of discernible follow-up on that same skill he hits with, it doesn't do any good. Think of this scenario. You have Arbiter Lysandra or Arbiter Sylar or Turn Meter, right? Gorgrab Apothecary. Who cares who the two are? Then you have a debuffer, Madame Ceres, Teorel, who knows, whatever. These are all standards in a speed comp team. Your fourth one's your nuker. So I use Arbiter, I use Lysandra, I use Madame Ceres, and then I hit one person, kill them easily, because all of his abilities could probably kill most champions in the game. Then what? So then they get to go, because that's how turn meter works. And now they've got a double revive, or they've got a single revive. You killed their revive, but they still have a debuffer. They still have a nuker, and their Trunda kills you, or their Rotos hits twice and kills two of your champions, and you went from going first to losing. This is the scenario with any of these champions that don't have secondary modifiers. So how would I change them? Well, there's two paths, and I actually like the second path, but let's go over the first. The first is make them viable in the arena. So first of all, get rid of force. Just make it ally crit rate in all battles. Maybe someone will think up a cool comp to use him in the arena. Probably a throwaway stat, but it would be useful for him. Faction wars, dungeons, that sort of thing. His A3 needs to hit way harder. Get rid of the decreases max HP by 30% and make this hit like he's actually ignoring 50% defense. I was extremely underwhelmed with his damage on this ability. Now, you could argue the Mountain King was built for HP, probably didn't have a ton of defense, but the clan boss has some decent defense. So to have that clan boss ignoring 50% of the remainder defense after he was debuffed was still kind of underwhelming. It should have hit way harder than his A1, but the difference was really insignificant in my opinion. It was, what was it, 7,000? 6,000 on a 90,000 hit? That's not even 6% difference, or 5, it's in that area. Was not enough. So he needs to hit harder. It also needs some kind of secondary modifier. Put True Fear on it. This guy scares me. I pee a little when I see him. Look at those bats. They're cricket bats made of metal with spikes on them. That would scare anybody. So make it True Fear, right? It has a 75 bookable to 100% chance to put True Fear. Now, you attack one champion, maybe you don't kill him, but you True Fear him, which has the opportunity to take him out of the fight. Changes things significantly in the arena. Like this ability, don't have to change it. This ability, however, put the Baby Fear, 25, 50 bookable to 50% chance of putting a fear debuff on the enemy. Now you've got some abilities that people can play with. I don't think it would necessarily make him a huge champion in the arena, but it would give you another option, especially for people who are trying to snake their way through Gold 1 to Gold 4 and need these different kind of niche ways to be able to do so. I think if you pulled this early and you built that out, he would actually be a really good champion early game in the arena. To make him a late game arena champion, you'd have to do way more than that, I think. You'd have to probably have a block revive or an extra turn, or both, Rotos. But at least then there would be some usability on him that just clearly isn't there right now. How I would change him, however, is more to the other side. I actually was really surprised at what he could do in the clan boss, and I would like to see that skill nurtured. So for the clan boss changes, I would get rid of the force so you can use this as your lead. Okay? I would change this to do more damage. It should just do a ton of damage. I don't even need a modifier for the clan boss. I just need this to be impressive because it's a 5-turn cooldown and it's ignoring 50% of the defense. Make it impressive. Impress me with the damage, please. It doesn't right now. His A2 impressed me. His A1, not so much. Or A3, not so much. So change this to do way more damage. You don't have, again, this is fine. Don't change it. Love it. This, however, I would put to a 50 bookable to 65 or 60% a chance to decrease attack. Now you have a force affinity option that isn't Sepulcher, who's the only option that I can think of right now that has a decreased attack for force champions. This helps you with affinity. It helps you in specific comps. You can use him with a better crit rate to make all your champions around your clan boss. People build clan boss teams to be clan boss teams. So when they know that they're getting that consistent 23% extra crit rate, they can build teams around that. Imagine using him in dungeons in the same scenario. He's got those abilities, but you can now make your Royal Guards and Cold Hearts with way less crit rate. I think that would be fun. I think it would make him usable. It may not make him meta, but at least it would make him something that people would consider. As it stands now, he is a hard pass. I would put him in the vault. If you're using for faction wars, that's the only time that I think you might get away with it. And if you are some kind of mad genius, Deadwood Jedi, maybe you could use this guy in the clan boss to do some damage. Other than that, vault them, walk away. Those are my thoughts on Ripper. Do you agree, disagree? What do you think? Leave it in the description down below. Also, please feel free to like, subscribe, notify. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Helps me get to the next level of the content creator program with Plarium. Finally, please be safe, everyone. Practice social distancing. I wish all of you the safest of journeys this winter season, and we will see you in the next video.